Hey there, it's April 25th. Welcome to Deribit Live. I'm Shane Ogler along with my partner Richard Hodges, and we are, of course, the Rogue Traders. And it's World Penguin Day.
Is it?
Yep, World Penguin Day. Penguins are amazing creatures, actually. Not just happy feet. I'm talking about the real ones, just so many different ones. But just completely off topic. Well, not that penguins was the topic, but I remember seeing these historical paintings that were done, like maybe by a British explorer exploring the North Pole, and they had penguins.
Oh.
Why would they do that? Like, there's no penguins in the North Pole. Anyways, who we got with us today? Vladimir, hey, hello from Holland Core. Andrea, great to see you. Roy, David, USA. Soren from Tokyo. All right, we've got lots of folks coming in. Interesting stuff to talk about today. I'm actually quite excited about it. Slight deviation from the norm. That's okay. A little bit of action, a little bit of weakness right now in the market. Not a lot. We're going to talk about that in a quick moment. So what is the topic of World Penguin Day? Well, the topic is the post-halving and is the bull run back on. Now, we're going to get into this in a little bit, but it's not going to be because it's post-halving. There's actually another completely different, out of the blue angle that maybe some of you know about, maybe none of you have even heard about. But Richard and I are going to get into that, and I've got some data I want to share with you, which might really convince you that the bull run is back on. As I say that, of course, the price is pressing down a bit, but it's really not a big deal because we're on a channel. So what I'm going to do right now is let me turn off the I'm going to stop the slide presentation. And I'm just going to share my screen and go straight in here. All right. Let's see. We've got Ethereum first. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Oh, hang on. Do you share? Here we go. Do you see it? There it is.
Yep.
Ethereum. I don't know. It's just not exciting to me. It's just kind of copying what Bitcoin has been doing. I stopped trading Ethereum last year, as many of you know. I just wasn't super crazy, but I got my unicorns up here on the silly chart. Hey, if we get a sudden move down to one of the unicorns, okay, I'll get interested. I'll start getting involved. Now, quickly before I go on, I just want to check out the other options that Deribit now has going on. Let's just check out Solana. I was pointing this out to Richard earlier. In this chat it doesn't, or this trading view, it doesn't show the same data as on Deribit. Now, this wick on Deribit showed it went down to about 110, and we did a little bit of trading in some of these altcoins that the Deribit has. We put on some iron condors. We won 2 out of 3, but the market's still a little bit thin. Deribit's working on that to attract more people. So I think what we're probably going to do is we're just going to go fishing. We're going to go fishing, and we're going to look at multi-standard deviation moves, and we're just going to play the wings. We'll maybe play some limit orders to pick up spot, or to buy cheap options. I shouldn't say cheap options. If this thing wicks down to 110, I'd like to buy those 110 options, looking for a rebound. So maybe we'll put limit orders on the options book, maybe on the spot book to do that. But we're not going to do that today because we won't have time. But I think that's going to be our strategy going forward. Let's just quickly take a look at Ripple here. I'll just take a look at Bitstamp. Doesn't really matter who I'm. Yeah, it hasn't been doing much. Not really a lot to talk about. And the other one is Matic, right? Yeah, Matic. Let's see what they got here. Polygon. I kind of followed Bitcoin's lead there. Not too much to report on. Again, we're not going to trade that right now, but we will start fishing for orders and maybe getting adding some liquidity to the market. Take a look at Bitcoin. Now, what do you notice different about our chart on Bitcoin today? Well, I've got this goofy orange line in here. What's that? Well, that's the Deribit devol. And thank you very much to Vincent, who said, hey, why don't you put that on there? It'd be a nice comparative. And it is interesting because we can see is the price, we got this huge move up, February into March, April. Devol, IV expanded, went up. So we all know that the crypto acts the opposite of stocks, right? If it's stocks, the S&P is going up, IV drops. So when we saw this in particular the other day, that's when I had the suggestion. Someone said, "Hey, why don't you put the devol on? It's coming down. Does this mean that the stock price or the asset price, the Bitcoin price, is going to come down?" I said, "Well, not necessarily, but yes, it is an indicator that could get weak." But we have seen some big move down, and this is monster from 100, down to 18. So what did the price of Bitcoin do? Well, it kind of flatlined. It did come down. It's not going to rocket up normally, but it kind of flatlined. And then eventually it pulled it up. So it's kind of interesting to look at the correlation. I think, and the reason why I'm showing this is it was suggested to me, should I short the market? Should I buy puts? Should I be selling call spreads? Because devol is dropping pretty hard. I think generally it means the market's going to be a little bit weaker. It doesn't mean it's going to plummet. It could just flatline. And because, and I'll give kudos to Richard for this, because back when we were up in the 70s, maybe even last week or 2 weeks ago, he was saying, you know what, hey, we're up here in the 70s. It ain't going to last. We're probably due for a bit of a trend to dip down. Maybe we'll go down on the 40s, the 50s, where it probably, quote unquote, should be. We know vol can't stay elevated with nothing happening, right? People will just, those offers will just shrink in. So this is probably part of a really natural correction. Does this mean it's going to break out of its range? I don't think so. I mean, it might. Anything can happen. But let's look at this. We are still firmly in this range. We're right smack in the middle. Yes, we've got a couple of we have some days where it gets a bit weak. But let's face it, in Bitcoin, if the price moves $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, everybody flips out and thinks we're going another 10,000, right? Same thing when it goes down. That's just the way people are in Bitcoin. I'm still treating this as a range. I'm still selling spreads on the bottom side and the top side. Short dated stuff, I'll do here. If I've got 1, 2, 3 days to expire, no problem. I will sell those short dated inside the range. If I'm going to look at a bit longer dated, I'm going to be outside of the range, so I have time to adjust things if I need to. That's it for the silly chart. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's kind of clears up some confusion, because a lot and Richard, I think you're commenting a few days ago that the 1 month risk reversals had gone negative. That's one of the indications that we could be in for some weakness. But even when we look at the vol surface, a lot of times the front end of the vol surface is really just kind of the panic, like the sentiment of the day. So we kind of got to be careful. We always can't read too much into it.
It's kind of normal for when there's no big news event upcoming, that people are generally more pessimistic on the wings than optimistic in the wings. Yeah, I think the halving was a big narrative that we're going to get a big pump, and I think it's not a good idea to ignore that, because it's possible.
Yeah,
and I suspect people were long call spreads, looking to catch that pump. Now we've had the halving, we had a weekend. S&P is looking a bit weaker. The world's looking a bit gloomier. So just a bit of time to take some money off the table, right? So people buying back the spreads. Unwinding their spreads and selling those spreads rather. So it's just the market makers responding to that and lowering vols.
Yeah, and I see that we're back down to 63,000. A little bit of weakness, and I think yesterday the pump up, the market rallied, the S&P was rallying. So let's quickly move on. Let's take a look at the stats for the account we set up for this for the Deribit Live, folks. It's losing a little bit of equity here as we pump down. Let me just quickly change the size of our heads. There we go. Here's the stats for the Synth Miner account. Now, to 8 weeks ago to the day we started this account, about $5,100, $5,200 or so. And we wanted to say, look, We want more Bitcoin. We think the price of Bitcoin is going up long-term over the next 6 months, year, 2, 3, whatever. We think it's a long-term gain asset. And so instead of going out and buying some mining equipment, the rigs, electricity, and doing all that, we thought, well, can we just accumulate more Bitcoin? Can we beat the miners using options? And that's what we're trying to do. So we started off with 0.0825 of Bitcoin. We're up to 0.1105, just off a little bit from last week. Last week we were at 1106. And we took the snapshot this morning. Just we do it every Thursday. Our equity is up quite nicely. We've increased our 31% increase in Bitcoin. So we've mined 0.026 of a Bitcoin in 8 weeks. You can see our cash is up, which makes sense. USD synthetic mining annualized return 548%. Now, obviously that number is going to fluctuate around a lot as the price of Bitcoin moves. But look, if we started hodling 8 weeks ago, at the same time we started this account, we'd be down almost 9% hodling. So we like it. We love it. We want to take a look at a chart. This blue line is our Bitcoin return, synthetic miner versus hodling. Again, the red line is always going to be a flat, straight line because you're just sitting there hodling. You're just holding the damn stuff, right? So we're greatly outpacing that. And if we take a look at the USD return versus USD return if you're hodling, they're going to follow, but we're hopefully we'll always maintain that gap, and that gap will just get bigger and bigger and bigger as we go through time. Richard, do you want to jump over to the Synth Miner account and we will, let me just turn the slides off and we'll take a look at that. Because we have expiry coming, we trade the weeklies. We're probably not going to take any trades off today, but after tomorrow's expiry, assuming we don't get into trouble on them, which we could, we'll probably end up opening up our new position tomorrow. Now, just going to say too, for anyone who wants to follow us, who do live trading every day, live stream, you can follow us on our patreon.com/Rogue Trader Academy, or actually in the offer here. So there's an offer here and a link. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, there's a link there for those people who want to trade along with us, take advantage of all the tools we have, and do monthly one-on-one coaching. You can do though. You can check out a discovery call, a free discovery call. We'll chat and see if you'd be a good fit for our gold member plan. So check out that link below or in the offer here. So go ahead, Richard. I think we've got the expiry tomorrow and the 3rd, right?
Yes, that's right. The bulk of our risk is actually expiring tomorrow. So that we've just been holding on to this risk for a while and just letting it crawl towards expiry. And tomorrow is the fateful day. So we do actually have buy orders in, which I suspect we put in when it was way further.
I think I actually put those in this week, but
okay. And so it's an open question as to whether we should take those orders off and let it expire, or whether actually better to let discretion be the better part of valor and trade out of it when we can.
Well, I have the answer.
Yep.
We should take it off right now if the price is going to go a little lower. If the price isn't going to go lower, we should just leave them.
Yeah, right.
Isn't it obvious?
So yeah, I'm actually more comfortable with having them bought back, because it would be terrible to be 2 hours away from expiry.
Yes.
Price is 5 bips, and then suddenly we get a big crash. That would be terrible.
I agree. Been there, done that. And look, those short options, they were obviously a lot more profitable earlier. They're about 44% ROI. So it's not like we're still making a profit on them. And we can leave that cover in place, because that cover is
that's useful for a day.
Yeah, it's practically. We're not going to get anything worthwhile for it, so let's leave it there in case we plunge.
So the intention here is to, as soon as these come back, so either today or tonight or tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, these will lose this position, and the intention then is to go and pick up another 10 basis points a day. Strictly speaking, we should only do it in size 0.1. We've been running 0.2, which is why we've been doing better than we thought, but that's adding a bit more leverage. If we're comfortable to do 2, we can do 2. But as we've already got risk on the 3rd, I'm going to try and avoid concentration, and actually that's at 62, which is a little bit close.
It is.
So we'll probably go out to the 10th. We'll try and pick up. This will be 14 days, so we'll try and pick up 140 basis points over 14 days to see if we can. So that's gonna probably be something like 59 or 60 on the puts, on the short puts, and then wherever the cover is. So 54
around 56, 55. Yeah. Actually, there's no 55 strike. Interesting.
Yeah, it's still a bit far out. Noting that the vols are, as we've been mentioning, down in the 53.4 range, so it's starting to get actually at our bottom limit for selling vol.
Yeah.
So there's if it falls down below 48, I think there'll be internal questions to be had about whether we put risk on or whether we wait. But for now, I think it's okay because it's covered, and vols are going to go up only if market crashes down or if it starts to push on up. And if it starts to push on up away from our puts, then that's happy days. So maybe we should just do 1.1 tomorrow morning and then leave some in reserve.
Yeah, I agree with that because I don't like those 62,000 short puts another week out, to be honest. But I mean, we could be at 67 in this evening, but I still don't like it. So yeah, I think that's what we should do.
And if we were concerned about this 62, we could always roll it out to 17th of May, even now.
Yeah, got lots of options.
There's about 190 to pick up, so there's plenty of we could get down below 60 and make it much more comfortable if we. But for now, I think we can afford to run it for a bit.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we're still firmly in the range. And if 60 breaks, it's going to be an event. It will be an event, and people will be freaking out, and we'll get probably, even though the price is going down, I'm sure the vols get pushed up a bit.
I think we're a bit conditioned, aren't we, to panic over moves because everything for the past month and a half any move has been a precursor to some big move.
Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then actually,
So
I was just going to say here's the devol, and it looks pretty aggressive on the devol chart of Deribit.
It does.
But this to me feels like where vol should be. Feels like that sine wave over the past few months has been a bit of an anomaly, and actually the real vol is sort of here. That feels kind of right to me. So,
well, the IV rank is at 50, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, right smack in the middle.
Good point. Yeah.
Cool. So that's what we're going to do with this account. So, do we want to make this trade? Do you want to enter anything now, or do you want to wait a little bit? What do you want to do here?
I think we wait. We wait till tomorrow because I think we want to. I don't think we want to add any more margin. We're currently running 26% margin.
No, I mean, do we want to take some of this risk off this tomorrow's expiry? Those 62s. We could take one off right now and move it out.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
I'd rather roll one than roll 0.2,
okay.
I suppose. Yeah, and we'll just find somewhere to put that.
might have to pay 70 for it.
Yeah, and that's whatever. It's 5 bips. We'll make it up.
All right.
Elsewhere. And besides, we got a limited time show here, and I got lots of this cool stuff I still want to share about why this bull market might be rocking and rolling. So,
okay.
All right. So,
and I'll go put that on somewhere else, like on the 10th.
Yeah, I think the 10th. I think that we want to make it. Well, we got 14 days, so we want to get 140 bips, right?
Yeah. So 239, 190 against 50. 659 against 52, or 60 against 54.
Well, I'm more inclined to say 60 because if the range breaks, it's gone. Like 59 isn't going to save us.
Right. Okay, so we'll do a
famous
combo,
last words, right?
Combo put spread.
Yeah.
So that was at the 10th.
Yes.
50, 60.
Yeah.
This is 54. Marks 170. That's about right. Create an RFQ. And then we'll go and we'll probably end up crossing a spread here, but that pains me to do so. We'll sell one, sell Oh, it's gone in. Wow.
Wow, that's the first time we've had one of these strategies get filled so quickly. Yeah. Fantastic. That's cool. And we just saved fees because we only paid on one side.
Yeah, you paid 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
1.5. You pay half on your lower fee.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's still a savings. All right. Fantastic. Well, we moved a little bit of risk away. We'll see. We'll let the rest go. If you want to stop sharing, I'm going to jump back into the slides here because there's something I want to share with everyone. Start. Here we go. All right. So here is our synth miner. Yeah. But when we're going back to talking about post-halving, and is this the start of, will the bull market continue? I mean, we can see the chart ramped up. Now we're holding in a channel. It's going to break. It's going to break one way or the other, but it's going to go up or down. A lot of people are saying up because, the halvings, generally pulls the price down. We've been talking about ETF inflows. At the end of this month, Hong Kong starts their ETF inflows. But I found a really cool article that basically said, that's nonsense. That has nothing to do with the price of Bitcoin moving. And I found this was very, very interesting. And I shared it with Richard the other day. And now I'll give credit to the guys over at Zero Hedge. These are screenshots from their article. And if you don't follow Zero Hedge, I think they're very intuitive. And you'd probably be well advised to subscribe to their premium newsletter. But look, China has what they're calling a wall of money. Massive amounts of money. The Chinese, as we know, do not have many things they can invest in. They've gotten pounded in their stock markets. They don't have places to put their money. So where do they try to put it? Try to put it in gold. They try to put it in Bitcoin. But you can't carry gold across the border if they manage to make it across the border. So China has currency controls, like the currency devaluation happening, and they've got these controls in place. And here's the first big FX devaluation they did of the yuan back in 2015, and that sparked this big rally. Well, these guys over at Zero Hedge called that, and they said, here's the next big one. Well, guess what happened? It was at the end of September, right? And when did things move up? We exploded up. Richard and I started an account. We got a little bit beaten up on that. It's in recovery mode. We don't have time to share that. Next week we'll share that account. We've had to do some repair because it really caught us off guard. We knew there'd be some excitement over the ETF, but it seemed to be a bit overdone. And we know, hey, we're just a couple of traders. I don't know, right? Who knows what the real sentiment is or all the inner machinations. But these guys are saying, here, just like clockwork, capital controls come in place, kaboom. And they're saying it's about to happen again, right? And when we talk about this wall of money that's in China, here's China versus U.S. total bank assets. It's 3x. It's 3x more capital sitting there in China. Now, of course, could all this money flow out? No. And as Richard was pointing out earlier, it's, the Chinese people are doing their best to get their money out, and the Chinese government is doing their best to keep the money in. So it's a struggle. So how much of this is actually going to flow out? Who knows? But it's a very interesting phenomena. And is this the real driver of the Bitcoin price? And the guys over the hedge are basically saying, yeah, this is the actual driver of the price. It's got nothing to do with ETFs. It's got nothing to do with anything else. And I think it's an interesting argument. And Richard, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it because you've also been talking to people recently about the Hong Kong ETF thing.
Yeah, I spoke to some people in Hong Kong about what that means. The feeling over there is that it'll be a trickle of money into ETFs in Hong Kong compared to the US ones, because the people in the PLC are not allowed to invest in these products. Of course, they're going to try. So some money will leak through. Some people will get fined and go to jail for it. But in general, Xi Jinping is determined, I think, more than we in the West understand, to remove China from the heroin drip feed of dollars and dependency on dollars. I'm not saying he's looking to go to war and create a second hemisphere of power necessarily. I think he's just trying to build a nation state, and you don't build a sovereign nation state unless you have independence and you control your own currency. And right now, China is incredibly dependent on dollars. So that thought there is that Xi Jinping will put the Chinese people through more pain than you might suspect, in order to prevent capital leaving the country and people, converting to dollars.
Yeah. So what do you think about this theory that the price of Bitcoin has really been driven by this outflow, these FX outflows from China?
I think it's possible. I think it's definitely a risk, and so upside risk. So I wouldn't want to get too complacent about selling calls into dips. And it's also worth mentioning that we haven't really even seen the institutional flows start yet into the US ETFs, because investment firms, pension firms are going to say, well, we're going to change the allocation of our standard multi-basket investments to include 0.5% of Bitcoin in, and then you'll find that the American workers will be buying Bitcoin without even knowing they're buying Bitcoin, and you'll get this constant trickle into Bitcoin. So I think the trend is up. I think the risk as you say, from Chinese money is explosive up, and we've got the risk of frightening 10% drawdowns in the price, because ETFs are now traded on the stock market and they're just treated as funny money by traders. So the price can move around pretty quickly. The ETFs represent actually quite a big chunk of the available liquid Bitcoin that's on exchanges. So it could have a big effect.
Yeah. I still, my sentiment hasn't changed. Super bullish on Bitcoin long term. Could we have a dip down to 50? Yeah, sure. Anything's possible. And I do think there's a lot of logic in what's happening, and what you've also just said. The ETFs haven't even really gotten started yet. So could we see a double in the next 6 months? Yeah, why not? Why not? And as you said, sometimes when things are weak, the instinct is to get that delta down or to zero or to negative by selling calls, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm keeping them short dated, and I'm not getting too close to the money. I get nervous because the bounces can be violent and quick. So that's my plan going forward. Really, nothing has changed. We're still firmly in a channel. We're firmly in this channel, and until it breaks, I'm going to trade like a channel. So let's. If you have any final thoughts on that, let me know. Otherwise, we'll jump into questions. You okay there, Richard?
Yeah.
Okay. Core. Yeah, it is. He says it's interesting. The devol dropped the last day to 58.1. Yeah, I was a little surprised at how quickly that came down. We have seen that before. Of course, Andre is going to make fun of my chart. Thank you very much, Andre. I always appreciate your making fun of me. That's
I think it's worth saying that these vol crushes do always happen in crypto. It's not a hugely liquid market out there, and market makers are not going to leave themselves exposed to offering super high vols or bidding super high vols for people to come and snipe them. So the moment they get hit a few times on one side, they're going to start crushing vols.
Yeah, good point. And as you said before, they're not going to stay elevated for no damn reason. They're eventually going to get pushed in. Yeah. Gregor, is your daughter doing homework or buying calls? Well, this is part of you. If you join Rogue Trader Academy, you'll learn how to do automated trading. That is my automation. You start them young. I'm not sure how you know that was my daughter or not, but good guess. She's home from school today and doing some work back there.
Because every time you move your hand, the blur goes away. So
it does it? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, geez. Okay. Vladimir, how much does it cost to talk personally with one of you around 1 hour? You can PM us. I don't remember.
We have a consulting price. It's $200 an hour, right?
I think it's 200. Yeah.
More. How much is it? Oh, right. That's Olga telling me to charge more.
Yeah.
Get it while it's cheap.
That's right. Yeah. How do you get in touch with you in case this can happen? Well, a good point. If you check out you can always email us at hello@roguetrader.academy. If you watch this on YouTube, you can check out the link on YouTube to set up a consultation call. Or here in the call, nobody on YouTube's going to see this. On the offer tab, you can see there's a link there, a Calendly link if you want to chat with me. Gene, do you think long-term vols are bound to decay because of the ETF supply demand, or is it still possible to get back above 90, 100 vols environment? That's a great question. Let's say this FX outflows happens, and boom, there's a rush of money. Our vols are going straight to the moon. Too sweet, I think.
Yeah. Never forget. We've seen Bitcoin vol at 300.
Yeah,
momentarily, right?
Yeah. Peter, is it possible to schedule the event 1 hour earlier? It somewhat clashes with the U.S. market open. That's a good question. I'll have to maybe get back to you on that.
I got no problem with that. If Deribit don't mind, then
yeah, we'll see. If anybody has a problem with that, please let me know. We want to make sure we accommodate as many people as possible.
It's a reasonable reasoning right behind the request.
Yeah, and it was when the time zone changes, it screws everything up, and it's whatever. So Peter, another question. Still looking for at least weekly snapshot XLS API of open positions. Any progress on this? No, we haven't been working on our open positions. Well, the Synth Miner account, we show everything open that day, but we don't really trade it very much. But the that Rogue Trader account, which is in the recovery phase, we should probably do that. Now, I do a lot of tinkering in there, a lot of short-term stuff to bring in premium short-term, and I've been adjusting risk out because that is in the recovery program. It's like the brat diet. I don't know if you know what the brat diet is. My doctor, I brought a kid to a doctor one day, and he said, "Oh, this kid's got to go on the brat diet." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" It's just water and bread practically. I guess you call it the prison diet too. Well, that's what the Rogue Trader account is going to be back on until I get it back up. Because we had periods where we unfortunately neglected it because it's a small account and it got away from us. And Richard put in the hello@roguetrader.academy, the email if you want to get in touch with us. Let's see. Andre, good kid. Yes, Gregor. She is a good kid, actually. Earlier, better in Melbourne. Ken says, you Australians, always causing a problem. You're the odd man out all the time. You don't quite jive with North America. You don't quite jive with Europe. I think it's time to move, Ken. I'm just saying. Of course, I'm joking. Andre, I was sure the show timed exactly to watch U.S. market opening. Yeah.
I think it's a fair point, right? If we're clashing with the US Open, that's quite a big rival for our attention.
It is, yeah. Email sent. Thanks, Vladimir. I appreciate it. Looking forward to chatting with you. Hey, if there's any last questions, any last thoughts, let me know. What's the market doing here? Looks like we're just hanging around 63,000 right now. So we'll see if this weakness persists. A lot of times, of course, U.S. afternoon, ETF things come on board. Larry over at BlackRock starts buying, and we get a bit of strength. We'll see if that happens. But again, we're smack middle in the range, and I'm not panicking either way right now. I'm still happy to sell spreads on each side of that range. Ken, nowhere else to run. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Any final thoughts, Richard?
No, you mentioned BlackRock. I was just thinking that last week, it was all outflows every day, wasn't it, from ETFs? This week, it's all been inflows most days. So I think this is just something we're going to have to live with now. It's like having a great big whale in the room, that's schizophrenic. And Wall Street's going to play around with the IBIT stock, and that's going to get arbitraged into underlying, and that's going to inject vol into Bitcoin markets. I think I've been caught saying before that Michael Saylor is a calming influence on Bitcoin, and the ETFs are increasing the vol.
Gotcha. One thing I will mention is if this sideways trend, this channel continues, the longer a channel continues in Bitcoin, the more that spring gets compressed, because we know there's a minimum of a 10% move every 90 days on average. And, we don't make a run to all-time highs, hold a channel underneath it for a long period of time without having some serious action. We know how over-leveraged people are, both long and short. What I will say is if we continue and we're into next month, we're a week or two into next month, we're still in the channel, I'm going to start putting on long positions, whether that's directional butterflies, whether that's 1x2s. I'm going to be looking for a vol expansion, an explosion potentially out of the range. I'll be looking to set those up lightly. And I'll stagger them. I'll smear them across different expirers because I don't know if they're going to happen in 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 month, but I will absolutely do that. I suspect we won't get too far into May before we break this channel. So I'm keeping everything short dated. That's my my thoughts on that. All right. Hey, that's it for today. We went just slightly over time. We did a pretty damn good job today keeping things on track. Again, thanks everyone for joining us. I love having you here. I love chatting about this stuff with you. And we'll see you next Thursday.